friends. This is another episode of the program Empire of Lies, in which we discuss manipulation and disinformation in Russian media. How Skabeeva's 60 Minutes disguises defeats with propaganda. Skabeeva's latest episode is revealing. It combines aggressive rhetoric, crude manipulation, and the usual mix of threats and excuses. It's important for European readers to understand that such programs aren't just a backdrop, but a tool for pressuring public opinion and political elites. 1. Contradictions as strategy first, the viewer is shown Donald Trump declaring the collapse of the Russian economy and the need to end the war. A sharp counterattack immediately follows. These words have no connection to reality, since according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, Russia has allegedly liberated thousands of square kilometers. This creates a double logic. Any external criticism is declared fantasy, while domestic victories are exaggerated to the point of absurdity. This is a standard Russian propaganda strategy, denying the obvious while creating the illusion of strength in the audience. 2. Turkey, Hungary, the golden badge. The discussion of Turkey and Hungary occupies a special place. Trump allegedly demands that Erdogan give up Russian oil, promising F-35 fighter jets in exchange. Skabeeva focuses on the golden badge with the plane, turning politics into a show. Here we see a familiar ploy, substituting visual symbols for serious conversation. The viewer is presented not with an analysis of real negotiations, but with a picture in which everything boils down to a play of gestures and small details. In this logic, Europe is not a union of states, but a field for manipulation. 3. Afghanistan as a mirror of excuses. Next comes the favorite argument. The US suffered a shameful defeat in Afghanistan, meaning its words about Russia carry no weight. The comparison is incorrect, but it serves its purpose, to divert attention. Instead of discussing the current fighting in Ukraine, the viewer is reminded of the old wounds of American foreign policy. It's important for Europeans to note such parallels aren't an analysis, but a technique for emotional substitution. 4. Bear versus paper tiger. Symbolism is brought to the forefront. Trump allegedly called Russia a paper tiger, and the Kremlin responded, "We are the bear." Propaganda builds drama around images, not reality. But there's an important nuance. The very fact that Moscow is forced to respond to offensive comparisons reveals its vulnerability. The strong don't make excuses, they act. 5. The utopia of returning all territories. When it comes to the possibility of returning all of Ukraine's lands, including Crimea, the presenter is quick to dismiss it as a futile fantasy. Western publications, from the Washington Post to El País, are cited, but selectively, to suit the Kremlin's purposes. Thus, the image is created that even in the West, they understand that Ukraine is doomed. This is a classic technique for isolating the audience. Instead of an honest discussion of disparate opinions, they show only those segments that align with the Russian line. Having killed at least 50,000 civilians, Washington tried to overthrow the Taliban, but after a shameful flight, they are back in power. And having dismantled American equipment, they are trying to restore peace. Trump, however, heard the Kremlin statement that Russia is not a tiger, but a real bear. I would never call anyone a paper tiger, but Russia has spent millions upon millions of dollars on bombs, missiles, and ammunition. And yet, they have not actually gained any land. I think it's time to stop. I truly believe so. This year alone, the Russian army has liberated 205 settlements. So Trump's conclusions are wrong. Over 4,700 square kilometers have come under Russian control. I'm not sure the president has changed his mind. I think he has maintained a consistent position from the very beginning, since February, when he began negotiations with President Putin. It's clear that Putin doesn't want to play by the rules. We saw this yesterday or the day before, where when President Trump talked about a paper tiger. And the Kremlin spent the next day repeating, "No, we're not a paper tiger, we're a bear. If you're a bear, you don't need to announce it. Everyone will notice." This shows weakness on Russia's part, and the president has clearly struck a nerve. The alliance itself is calling the idea of reclaiming Ukrainian territory unrealistic. According to the Washington Post, military experts and diplomats believe Trump's promise is unachievable without a sharp shift in the alliance's strategy. Trench warfare, the dominance of drones, and the coming winter reduce the prospects of a large-scale offensive by Kyiv to zero. 6. Europe as a hostage. Skabeeva regularly emphasizes it is Europe that is paying for the war. Not the US, not Trump, but Europe which will refuse cheap Russian gas for expensive American gas. This is intended to irritate European viewers. We suffer and Washington profits. There is a hidden calculation here to undermine EU solidarity and sow discontent within European societies. What lies behind this spectacle? The latest episode of 60 Minutes is an example of how Russian propaganda lives in its own world of symbols and slogans. There is no room for admitting mistakes or searching for a way out. There is only constant repetition. Russia is winning. The West is collapsing. Ukraine is doomed. It is important for Europe to understand these broadcasts are not random background noise, but an element of pressure. Their goal is to sow doubts about unity, to cause fatigue with support for Ukraine, and to normalize war as a new reality. The louder the cries from Moscow studios, the clearer the European response must be. War is not a show. It costs lives, and that is precisely why lies, even when presented in a shiny television package, cannot become the basis of international policy. This was the program Empire of Lies. See you soon.